Hi, I'm Sally, and I decided to switch careers and become a veterinary technician, and I'm over 50. If you decided to do something crazy like change careers later in life, or if you are just interested in learning more about online schools such as Penn Foster and whether they would be right for you, then this video may be a good fit. When I decided to change careers, I had to figure out how to start from scratch while maintaining a full-time job, dealing with already current student financial debt from my previous degrees, and also finding time. So it's a real challenge when you are starting over later in life. I needed a program that was going to be affordable, flexible, and realistic. So that's why I chose Penn Foster. I first learned about Penn Foster from the animal shelter that I was involved with. There were a couple of people there who had done Penn Foster. Now, one of them had started Penn Foster in the past and had quit. And the other one had recently started Penn Foster and hadn't gotten very far. I was a little bit concerned about the program, but I decided to go ahead and do some more research on it. What I found that people were saying the most was that the challenge is pacing yourself and being disciplined enough to maintain progression through the program. Because it is so flexible, you do not have deadlines. You really do need to be self-motivated. I thought, okay, well, I'm a former teacher. I'm used to pacing classes and planning content for classes. I can do this. The real challenge for me turned out to be content overload. And it really came back to the availability of teachers. Now, you do have teachers in Penn Foster. You can reach out for help. They are there. It's just different. So when I was working as a teacher and I had classes through the university, we would have online Zoom chats. So I got to know my students. There was that personal connection that was developed. But in Penn Foster, the interaction with the teachers is you can email them, you can attend webinars, but in the webinars, there's going to be, I don't know how many other people, but a lot of other people. And if you have a question, you type it in the chat box. So it's not like having somebody sit down and explain stuff to you. You may be able to do that, get on the phone call with somebody, I don't know, but it's just not the same as having a teacher that you're getting to know. So for me, that turned out to be a challenge. For example, the biology class. It's, like I said, I am old, so remembering what I learned in high school biology, I don't remember that. And when I went to university, the sciences I took were not biology. So in the Penn Foster biology class, the class is set up a little different. So it didn't have a textbook. It had content that was created for the class. But it was condensed too much. I didn't have enough relevant information to understand what I was learning or why. So I bought a biology textbook. And then I had the opposite problem. It was too much content. I couldn't find a happy medium. I really needed someone in plain English to be there and guide me through this and tell me what I need to learn and what it is I'm not understanding about what I am learning. Then I got to anatomy, and that's again content overload. And what I feel was relevant in biology was then repeated in anatomy. So it was just a lot. Now, one thing is the terminology. Right when you start the Penn Foster classes, the first one you have is going to teach some vocabulary. That vocabulary has turned out to be very useful in my veterinary career. It's terminology they use all the time. The doctors use that terminology, so that's helpful. And the other class that's very helpful to me is the pharmacology class. For me particularly, I'm working a lot with inventory, so I am really benefiting from the pharmacology class. And then just understanding what medicines it is that we're working with, that's helpful. What I am finding from working in a veterinary practice is that I'm learning it backwards. I feel like going hands-on is teaching me how to understand Penn Foster rather than Penn Foster teaching me how to be a vet tech. So it's a little different. For whether or not I would recommend it, I would say if you are someone who can work in a vet practice while you're going to school, then yes, Penn Foster will be very useful to you because you do something at the vet clinic and then you read about it at Penn Foster and you start to understand it a little bit more deeply. But when I learned something through Penn Foster first, I'm not really grasping it until I do this in person. And some of the information that you're learning in Penn Foster doesn't seem directly relevant to what you're learning in the vet clinic. It's just you're developing a deeper understanding of more the information behind what you're doing in practice. So to learn how to be a vet tech, you're really going to have to work in a vet clinic or a vet hospital. Now, if you are someone who needs the flexibility of an online class, then yes, Penn Foster would be good for you. But if you are someone who is just starting out, who is just starting college, I'm going to recommend a different path for you. I would recommend that you go to community college, go to one that has vet tech as a major, get your associate's degree in vet tech, because you can transfer those classes. If you go to an online school like Penn Foster, those classes are not going to transfer into other university classes. So be mindful of that, but also research the program to make sure that your classes can transfer. And the reason I say this is you can get your associate's degree in vet tech. You can work as a vet tech while you're in college. And then if you decide that you want to do something else, you can continue on pursuing your degree in biology or some other animal-related science, because there's so much out there and you may decide you want a career shift either then or even later in life. So I would say do this as your associate's degree. This is one of those things that I would, if I could go back in time and tell my younger self, I would pick an associate's degree that led directly to a career and then continued on with my education so that that could be a fallback career. But or even the first career and the degree is for a future fallback career. I mean, people do things differently, but that's what I would recommend. Overall, I am still happy that I'm doing Penn Foster. I find that it is a lot harder to learn without being hands-on, and you learn a lot more about how to be a vet tech in person.